Hello everyone and welcome to Australia. We are down under for round 3 of the 2023 Superleague Championship. Here we are at the Albert Park circuit in Melbourne. We've got 58 laps ahead of us, but before that, of course, we have a qualifying session. What you're seeing here, apart from a rather strange accident, is the end of the practice session. The checkered flag is waving, so the drivers are just completing their laps and going back to the pits, and we will be bringing you the entire qualifying session as it happens. Alongside me today is going to be Ryan Elliott. Hello Ryan, how are you doing?
I am very well. Easter weekend coming up. Nice long weekend, so just going to enjoy Super League this evening with a nice cold beer in hand.
Very nice, very nice. So there you see the calendar for the championship. You'll notice, if you are eagle-eyed and we're looking at the calendar before, that Saudi Arabia and Azerbaijan have swapped places. That's due to the track not quite being ready in Jeddah just yet. So after the Australian Grand Prix, we will be heading over to Azerbaijan instead. A very different type of technical street circuit, and I'm sure that that's going to be a spectacle and a half. Then, of course, you go to the European Championship in the middle of the season, with the exception of the Canadian Grand Prix, kind of spoiling the old European Championship. And, of course, the season will be ending in Brazil, as all good championships should. This is, as I said, round 3. The first 2 rounds of the championship have been a story of Jake Dennehan and Tom Stevens. They have been 1 and 2 in both of the first races. Jake technically slightly ahead in the championship standings due to taking fastest lap last time out at Bahrain. Daniel Stepkowski is 3rd in the championship coming into today, so that is another driver to look out for. And Daniel's been doing pretty well. No podiums just yet, but of course consistency is a key to these opening rounds of the season, and his 4th and 6th place will have delighted you, I'm sure, Ryan. Jakub Lalu is 4th in the championship coming into this round. Then we have the other powered by RSR car of Tomasz Vok. Adam Maguire is P6, and he actually won this race in the past, so look out for Adam today. He certainly knows how to race here. Jan Grankvist 7th, then Philip Pushke, Robin Panzer, and Jeffrey Fournier, another former winner of the Australian Grand Prix. He won here in 2018, taking Epic Racing's first and I believe still only Super League Grand Prix victory. Those are the drivers' top 10 that you have to look out for. And in the Teams Championship, the top 5 so far are Edge Esports leading after Jake Dennehan's win last time out. And then you have Tia Cha 2nd after Tom Stevens. 2 podiums and 1 victory in the first 2 rounds of the season. Powered by RSR, a 3rd, and it's Super Venturi, such as the one you're looking at right now with Jan Grankvist, and Nocturne are 5th in that championship as it stands. I think the lineups for the teams are pretty much the same as they have been. We will update you if we see any major differences or anything
There is
like
one.
that. Oh, what have you spotted?
Fabio Thixter is out temporarily. I don't know if this is on a full-time basis, but
Yes.
some real-world issues have stopped him from racing this round. I believe he's been replaced by Herlock.
Indeed, so Joseph Herlock coming into the Epic Racing team car there. We're also hearing, so thank you to cameraman Szymon Frelik for this. Mike Quint is, where's Mike, what's going on with Quint actually? Is he here? Ah, yes. So Mike Quint is in the Nocturne car, number 5. He is replacing Moritz Kropp for this round. Thank you very much, Szymon. I had to look through my order to find that, but yes, Mike Quint in, Moritz Kropp out, just swapping MKs, interestingly. So the qualifying session has now begun. We'll be updating you on the sector times and the lap times as they come in. You're currently on board with Jan Grankvist as you take a look at this I say revised Australian Grand Prix circuit. Of course, it is the same layout as last year, but it was revised relatively recently. And we have this brand new DRS zone as Jan opens the DRS there. Now, we were actually using that DRS zone last year as well, but Formula One wasn't, I believe. Oh no! If I remember correctly, this is a new DRS zone to us as well, making this the first circuit where we've ever had 4 DRS zones in one Grand Prix lap. And I can tell you from experience in FS2 that that makes a huge difference, and the slipstream here is absolutely massive. Here comes Jan to complete his first lap of qualifying. Looks, ooh, that's a big slide. The final corner was a really tough one in super lights the other day, caused a lot of people off guard in qualifying. And across the line he goes, still fastest so far, although Maguire and Moose are both on quicker laps. And in fact, both Maguires are looking pretty quick on this lap, and they should go to the top of the times. Jake Dennehan goes to the top. Rural crosses the line third, still waiting for those purple sector. Oh, that's a spin for Adam Maguire, so Adam will not be going any faster on this lap, and he actually will be heading back to the pits, Ryan.
Yeah, I've noticed one other driver change as well. I think Dylan Platt in the mode car, and I think that rounds us all up in terms of driver changes. But Australia in general, really good track to race around. I quite enjoy it personally. To qualify, you're on a knife edge. You know, that middle sector chicane, the final turn, you can get quite easily too excited. And there's a few opportunities where you can sort of lose the car, and we saw it with Granquist. He lost the rear end on a couple of occasions on the exits of corners. But they've just got to keep their heads down, you know. It's the same old thing in Super League. Everybody's sensible. They get a decent banker in, push really hard through the middle of the session, take some risks. Some people it pays off, some it doesn't. And then towards the end of the session, we start to see the times tumble.
Ooh, Catalani going off there.
Yeah, one of the Pescara cars going off. Bit of a weird one, that. Quite severe understeer, but let's see if he keeps going. He should do. So we jump back onto Adam Maguire leaving the pits. Again, making a mistake. Uncharacteristic mistake from Adam when he was purple sector 1 and 2.
Indeed, so Maguire yet to set a lap. 21 cars have crossed the line to set a flying lap so far, and it looks like Robin Panzer is going to make that 22 in about a lap's time. So currently the order is Dennehan at the top, followed by Moose and Luke Maguire, with Adam yet to set a lap, of course. It was Adam who won here last year, and Luke Maguire stepping up to Super League for this season. I've been updated by Toby Davis that the Mike Quint situation isn't going to be permanent. The car is still reserved for Moritz Kropp, but Moritz is actually on holiday now for the Easter weekend. So we will be seeing Moritz back from Baku onwards, according to the regular schedule. Panzer's first sector was a 27.7, not the quickest that we've seen, but it's not going to be too bad. He should still be, at this rate, he should be maybe 5 or 6 tenths off the leader by the end of the lap. We're going to see if that translates in the third sector. This is where we just saw Catalani going off, the end of the 4th DRS zone, which can be a tricky one, because if you get over that curb on the outside, the gravel can just suck you wide and into the barriers. But you do have a very wide curb there, which helps you to save it. This final corner is tough. Across the line goes Robin Panzer. His second sector was actually quicker than it initially looked, and he actually goes up to P6, so much better than I was predicting, and only 2 tenths off the top time as it stands, as Adam Maguire now starts his qualifying time. But yes, the final corner is probably the toughest corner to get right on this circuit on a qualifying lap, because you're just coming out of the slow penultimate corner, and as a result the revs are still high, you're still accelerating as you go through the final turn. In these Super League cars, it should be theoretically possible to do it flat out. The trouble with that, of course, and that's an invalidated lap from Adam Maguire, the trouble with that, of course, is that with the DRS zones, the drivers want to run lesser wings. Oh dear, that's a slight off from Jake Dennehan. Yes, so the drivers want to run lesser wings and just kind of hold it out through the final corner, which makes for a rather rough ride, and that's why we saw a lot of people spinning into the wall in super lights the other day. So Shukes now, good second sector. First sector, not quite a personal best. He was about 2 tenths off Jake Dennehan's first sector on this lap, although about to complete it nonetheless. And as we mentioned, Dennehan, Granqvist goes 8 thousandths off. Granqvist right up there in second place. And Jukes improves as well. And look at the top 3, separated by less than 200ths of a second. The top 5 are separated by less than a tenth.
Yeah, we see Vak improve as well there, just under 2 tenths off the pace. See Mike Quint, he's going for this lap despite that little bit of a moment on the second to last corner. Let's see what he can do this time round. Purple middle sector, puts him in P5, solid effort. You see Ruot without a rear wing.
Yeah, Stefan crabbing badly as well. If he can make it back to the pits, he can go out to get and Quinte. Goodness, so
oh my word,
the track,
got into a Formula Ford there. He's missing the front and rear wing.
Which actually is probably better because the balance is slightly better and you can make it back to the pits without spinning about all over the place. Here's Adam Maguire now. Still, well, he's technically on an outlap now because he invalidated that previous lap. We do still have about 7 minutes of qualifying left, but you know, sometimes you've got to put in a banker. Can't keep going off like that, otherwise you'll end up lapless.
Yeah. Interestingly as well, the pace seems to be slower in this session than I think personally I was expecting. Doing some stalking from the practice server earlier on in the day, Maguire was down doing a 16.8.
Yeah.
Right now on a 17.2 from Dennehan. The pace seems to be a little bit off, but obviously the rubber will develop throughout the session. You'll see Maguire setting himself up for another lap. Let's see what he can do this time.
The fastest lap in practice was a 16.9 from Robin Panzer, nearly 17 dead. So you can definitely improve, you know, 2 or 3 tenths from this. Maguire now on another flying lap, heading down to turn 3. He's already been through 2 of the 4 DRS zones on this lap. Now we're in this little parking lots car park section. Always a difficult one with the curb on the outside. That is a very nasty curb. The cars do want to rail slide over it. This is a corner that's been made a lot faster in recent years, running over the grass. Looks like the lap is still... I think the lap's still valid. I think it's just about still valid. You can get away with a little bit of an off-track excursion through there. And that's a difficult corner because it's quite blind as well. I was struggling with that last year quite a lot, not really knowing when to turn in. There's the good old weight chicane, very, very fast. And pretty trippy as well when your car isn't handling how you'd like it to. That's all the curb and nearly more as well as he jinks it back onto the line. It's certainly not going to be the fastest lap of the session from Maguire, but then again, look at his sectors. I mean, they're not true purple. That just means he's faster than the top time in the first 2 sectors. He's going to cross the line and go... And Panzer goes P1, and Maguire does go P1. So it was better than it looked. His, I mean, he was all over the place in some of those sectors. You can definitely take a tenth or 2 off that lap. But even so, Adam Maguire, top of the times now. Panzer is second. And still, oh my goodness, the top 6 are now separated by less than a tenth of a second. We could be in for a grandstand finish to qualifying.
Certainly looking quite spicy to start with, as we see Ruel a little bit off the pace. Could be tough for him to improve. He's already almost 10th and a half down in sector 1 the way it is at the moment. Yeah, I don't think looks like he's definitely not going to improve on this lap. That is a big crash.
He's very lucky to have all of his wheels.
It's punishing. He's really punishing, especially on quali laps. Like in the race, everyone will sort of settle down and get into a rhythm, but you absolutely push into the maximum, and it's clearly not paid off for him on this lap. You see Granqvist go around, and that's 2 wings off.
That was looking good for Granqvist.
What's going on?
And that's where Maguire crashed earlier, so goodness me. Here comes Zolt Shooks now. This is looking like a decent lap. Across the line he goes. And,
he got P1.
Oh, and it's P1. And a purple 3rd sector blasts the lap out of the water. Here's Daniel Stepkowski. He looks like he might improve on this lap as well. He goes P9 now. But yeah, Zolt Shooks in the Adonis goes to the top of the times. And Gaia has lost one of his wheels. That's what I thought was going to happen to that's what I thought was going to happen to Stefan Roll when he went off there, because he went in very, very hard, and he's lucky that he could return to the pits with the damage that he had. Jake Dennehan now starting another lap as well. Only the top 2 now separated by less than a tenth, because that was a pretty good lap from Zolt Hughes. But still, no drivers in the 1:16.9s. That's a lap that we know is possible. Robin Panzer did it on the practice server, and Maguire was also quicker than his current time on the practice server as well. So improvements still very possible. And Jake Dennehan proving that by going faster than Shooks' sectors in the first and second. Just one sector to go on this qualifying lap, and he's got to hook it up here. The curb is enticing, but he keeps it from going over into the gravel. Now this is where we've been seeing some issues, but he gets away with it. Max Verstappen ran wide in the Grand Prix, so it can happen to the best of them. Out through the final corner, the car trying to break away, but he keeps it under control, and surely this will be P1. Oh, it's P3, so his third sector nowhere near as good as it looked. Oh wow, and he's only 5 thousandths off Adam Maguire, but that makes a big difference because that's a whole row of a grid that he's down now, as Luke Maguire looks set to improve. But yeah, I thought that was better from Denahan there.
It didn't look particularly messy. He just clearly didn't carry it. Just a little bit off in terms of maybe a bit of corner speed. But as we see Maguire go across the line, it should be good. P4. That's up 5 positions for him. That's decent effort. You're going to probably see the time start to tumble now. Most people will be setting themselves up for one final lap. A lot of them like to leave it as late as possible in the session. Wait for the rubber to get there.
Indeed, here we go. This is crunch time. Still 2 drivers yet to set a lap in this session. Catalani went off earlier, and I don't think that he is going to be able to. I think he probably escaped back to the pits. The other driver that I was mentioning is Pascal Paulens in the HRT, and he is out on track. So look, set a competitive lap time. David Fidok here, former 2-time Super League champion, out of the weight chicane. Last year we thought that there was no chance he'd be on the grid this year. He was retired by halfway through the season, but he has returned. Oh, look at that, he's got the name, I didn't realize. Look, those are the names of his, Amy there's his wife, and Victoria and Lewis are his 2 children. And he's got them on his halo there, keeping them with him. That's very sweet. Nice little gesture there from David Fidok. And across the line he goes, and does not improve on that lap, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a shame to see a couple of our champions so far down in this session. Obviously Fidok down in 17th. We've got Pushka in P21. That's very uncharacteristic for him this season. It seemed like he was starting to gel with the car, but not quite got it today. And Jeff Fournier as well down in P20, former winner here back in 2018,
yes.
2018, what a win that was.
Ooh.
To start off his season at a big moment there. I don't think he's going to improve on this lap, unfortunately. But his teammate Herlock doing okay in P13.
The checkered flag is out, and we've got a battle for pole. Panzer and Shooks are now both, wow, their first sectors were very good, both of them in the 27.4s. That's about as quick as you can do around here. You see Panzer there with the purple designation on his first sector. Second sector, is that 800s down? This is Shooks. His lap's been ruined. His second sector was a long way down and has a little bit of a lag spike or something. Oh wait, no, we were switching back to Panzer. My apologies. I was confused by the fact that this was a different car. Adam Maguire's fast in the second sector. He could still challenge for pole here. Panzer comes out of the final corner, and this could be a challenge. We could have a donut. Oh, he's blown the engine. Never mind. Robin Panzer cannot complete the lap. That's a very strange one. So Shooks back into the pits. He could still be on pole. What about Maguire? He could take it away. Across the line, and it's pole. It's a 1:16.8. So he does manage to get into the 1:16s, and that is the last lap of the session. Fantastic stuff from Adam Maguire to take pole position by 0.2 of a second from Zolk Shooks there. It's Nocturne from Adonis. And then we have Jake Denahan in the edge. Actually, I'll wait until we see the full grid order, because you'll see it on your screen. There we go. We can read it out at the same time. We've got Luke Maguire 4th, Robin Panzer 5th, Jan Grankvist is 6th, then Matthias Moose, Daniel Stepkowski, Mike Quint, and Tom Stevens. The THRs 4th and 10th. They were the pole sitters from the first 2 races of the year, so not quite as good today. Stefan Roel, P11th. Then we have Tomasz Vok, Joseph Herlock, Jakub Alalu, Dylan Platt, Alessandro Quinte, Chris Shepard, David Fidok, Fabian Schierzik, and Jeffrey Fournier, former winner of this race, unfortunately down in P20 today. And I'm going to have a look at the disciplinary tab to see if we have any penalties to apply. Philip Pushke was 21st in that session, Yannis Vorburn 22nd, Florian Gaia P23, and then Pascal Polens, Christian Malczarek, and then of course Catalani, who we saw going off and not able to make it back to the pits. 25 cars setting laps, and the majority of the grid quite close, although the leader got away a little bit in the late stages. The mid pack looks very tasty, Ryan.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a big gap. Even not just from P1 to 2, but even sort of P10 backwards as well. So interesting, and you know, Maguire did the lap that we had seen him do. So fair play to him. It took him a little while to get there, but it doesn't matter if you do it on your first lap or your last lap. That is pole position. Indeed.
Now we do have a couple of penalties for this this round, although they look rather irrelevant actually. Andrea Catalani had a back of the grid penalty for escaping to the pits in qualifying last time, and due to escaping to the pits in qualifying this time, he will be starting from the back of the grid anyway, so that penalty will kind of cancel itself out there. And then there would have been a 10 place grid drop as well for, actually no, there's still going to be a 10 place grid drop for Alessandro Quinte, but I think that's only going to drop him oh no, he was about P16 in qualifying, so yeah, that will drop him a little further down the order, and that was for avoidable contact according to the disciplinary tab here. Looks like Adam Maguire actually picked up a 10-second time penalty in that last race as well for some kind of collision, so that dropped him to P15 in the order.
I believe that one was because of his big corner cuts, and I think he also got a warning for escaping before turn 1 as well, because he stopped on the straight when he conked out.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much else he could have done about that, but yes.
I think both the Maguires were like that actually. I think they both received the same warning.
Yes, looks like, yeah, absolutely, it looks like that has happened. As for the Adam Maguire thing, it actually didn't cost him any places, because if I remember correctly, he was 15th anyway, and 16th place was a lap down, so the penalty, yeah, so we've had 3 penalties from the last round, and all of them are slightly irrelevant. It will still affect Quinte, of course, but the other 2 won't actually affect the order from last time or this time at all. Anyway, we're currently in a short warm-up session. We have about 8 minutes to talk about whatever, and then get ready for the start of the third Super League race of the season. There's David Feidock in the Stax racing car. So Ryan, what are you expecting from strategy today? Of course, the track pretty much the same as it was last year, although we do have that extra DRS zone. Do you expect that will change things?
Yeah, I'd say so. The more DRS zones, the better. The sim racing in general is a lot more overtaking than in the real world, but a DRS zone just adds to the action, really. I've always thought this track's quite decent for racing. This run down into the corner we're seeing Jolt Sux go through now is quite spicy always on lap 1. I mean, we saw Hamilton go for a big move on Verstappen into there. That's probably my favourite overtaking corner, but I'm interested to see how this one goes. I mean, it looks like with that with the result there, it looks like it's Maguire's to lose. So we'll see what he does. You know, it's a long race, 58 laps. Anything can happen. All it takes is one wrong curve, and you know you're off into a wall in these cars. They're going so quick. There's very little room for error. And we saw even some of the top 5-6 guys in the session stacking into the wall in qualifying. You know, it can happen in an instant. So it's going to be a difficult one to call today. That's for sure. I think I'm still going to go with Maguire though. I'm gonna stick to that one.
Indeed. Now let's talk about the upgrades that have come in for this round as well. Now Ryan, you were telling me that this was expected to be quite a big round for upgrades. Would you like to explain about what the teams have been up to behind the scenes?
already we've definitely started to see some teams go on different paths. Not just in terms of what they are actually upgrading, but also in terms of distances. So some people have gone for a 4-week rotation of upgrades, which obviously means that they do get a little bit extra percentage, but it takes an extra week longer, which come the end of the season, if teams can afford to develop towards the end of the season, that is, some teams will miss out on one extra upgrade package that they could potentially have. But you know, you get a little bit extra percentage. And last race, you know, myself, RSR, we looked like we were an upgrade behind, or like 10-15% behind, but we've actually gone for the 3-week rotation, which has meant that this week we're the top car. But obviously then give it a week or 2 weeks time and it'll swing back the other way. Just pulling up the table now. We've got a good mix of teams doing body drag, nobody on front wing, we've got rear wings in there. Obviously everybody going for pit stop as well, pit stop tyre change, which is a given. That's just free time, free easy time.
Yeah, that's a crucial one.
Yeah, so it's starting to settle down a little bit. It's always interesting, especially in the first development stage, to see which routes people have gone, but at this point people are just developing the exact same path that they've started. In I think all cases, that is. Nobody's made the switch over yet, but obviously as we get to the middle part of the season, we've got some fast tracks coming up, so the body drag upgrade will definitely come in handy, that's for sure.
Well, Ryan, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because your team, powered by RSR, appears to have invested the most heavily into both reduced body drag and increased rear wing downforce. So it feels kind of like you've redistributed the drag and the downforce to a slightly different part of the car. Would you like to explain why that is and how that's going to help you?
Yeah, I mean, we've invested the same as anybody else really, but obviously it depends on the staff that we all bid for at the start of the season. So a good example is ourselves and Red Archer on the same path, but in rear wing we've got an extra 4% on them, and an extra 2% on Nocturne, which are those 3 teams are what are on the same path as us, on rear wing at least. Whereas THR and Super Venturi are down at 45%, 46%. But we're anticipating some high-speed tracks coming up. Got to maximise that straight line speed. You know, here now is a really, really fast track. Traditionally, this isn't a track that we would have taken an 100% engine at, but we have in one of our cars this time round. And then we've got Jeddah coming up, which again is, you know, you think of it as a street circuit, but it is rapid. It's a rapid track.
Oh, yeah.
So we're just trying to play around what the calendar's looking like, to be honest. It's hard to tell, you know, some upgrades we in our head think are more useful than others as well. So we've done testing, every team has at the start of the season or in the pre-season, to determine what we think is the most effective. So the percentage, you know, you might get more percentage on one upgrade, but it's less effective than, so say 30% on front wing might not be as quick as having say 20% on a rear wing, for example. And this is the upgrade package that we think is strong for not only this part of the season, but the strongest in general.
Indeed. Now, talking of percentage, actually, another thing the teams can affect when it comes to their cars is the engine that they're running. And you get a certain amount of engines throughout the course of the season. You have to reuse some to make sure that you reach the end of the year without having to pick up a penalty for something along those lines. There are a good few teams taking brand new engines for this round for both of their cars, but one thing I found interesting is the Green Stripes team, who have come into this round with their engines on 39% and 38% life. I think Green Stripes is going to really struggle to get to the end of the Grand Prix here, don't you think?
They should make it. I don't think they're going to struggle to get to the end, but I don't think it's the. Again, we were expecting rain for a lot of the last couple of weeks. So I'm not going to say that it wasn't the smartest move because I can see what they've gone for, but as of right this second, it's looking quite dry. We could expect some rain towards the end this evening. It seems to have landed perfectly in the middle of two rainstorms, you know, but just before we've gone live and then around about the end or after we've finished the Grand Prix today. So, and also stacks have gone for some low percent engines as well. One of the mode cars has. There's a good mix, but a lot of teams have gone for the 100% or their one-time used engines. A lot of people on like say 70s to high 60s.
Indeed. Hello to everyone in the YouTube chat, especially Dan Hayek there giving me a shout out, so I will give you a shout out back. Thank you very much, Dan. And good to see everyone else here as well. Got a good few people in the chat today, nearly 50 people watching along as we run live, and we're nearly getting ready to start the race now. The checkered flag is being waved there at the end of the pit straight, so that's the end of the warm-up session. And just a few minutes now until the cars are heading away for their formation lap. There's Joseph Herlock in the Epic Racing Team car. And Joseph, of course, stepping in for today, not a full season entrant, but certainly a very capable one. I've been seeing plenty of endurance races where Joseph's been doing pretty well recently. Very rapid in those cars. Can control an LMP1 car like I absolutely could not. And these cars, I can't imagine are too far away from that in terms of their overall weight and downforce and just acceleration and all of that. So I'm sure he'll be feeling somewhat at home, even though this is a car he hasn't necessarily raced before.
Yeah, LMP cars are, I don't want to say essentially open wheelers with the roofs. That's a bit of an insult, but they are a high downforce car, but they are a different beast to tame. You're not on the limit as much in LMP prototype cars as you would be in these Super League cars. Obviously, this is classed as sort of a sprint race, whereas you're going for 4, 6, 8, 12, 24 hours in endurance racing. It's very different, but the tyre management is something that is definitely transferable between the two. So yeah, I'm definitely excited. I love Thursdays. Thursdays are great. Every second Thursday is great. I look forward to Super League. It always provides great action for, even though I'm commentating, I love just watching. I'm a fan at the end of the day.
So what do you reckon, Ryan? 2 stops?
I
think a 1 stop's possible.
I'm going to hold off predicting because there is chance of rain towards the latter end of the race, so I'm unsure. It's
definitely a race that's closer to 1 stop than 3 stops, I would say. The tyre wear not particularly high here. I mean, if you think about the real life Grand Prix, of course, there were several cars who just didn't make pit stops due to the red flags we had. And, you had Alex Albon last year going the whole race except 1 lap on a set of hards. So it does happen. But of course, this is Super League. We don't know if the slightly different car and tyre models are going to affect things. We will have to wait and see. But I'm going to say 2 stops for the majority of the cars. Anyway, away we go. Away we go on the formation lap now. And indeed, we're getting the starting order. So this is how they will be lining up for this round with penalties applied and all of that. Adam Maguire is on pole, Tork Hughes in 2nd place, Jake Dennehan is 3rd, Luke Maguire is in 4th place on the grid, so we do still have a THR on the front 2 rows of the grid. Robin Panzer, P5, then we have Jan Grankvist, Matthias Moos and Daniel Stepkowski. I think there was a bit of a glitch with the team icons earlier. Adam Maguire is of course a Nocturne driver, not an Adonis driver. Mike Quint P9, then Tom Stevens P10, Stefan Rohr 11th, and Tomasz Fock P12. Then it's Joseph Herlock, Jakub Ekalalu, Dylan Platt and Chris Shepherd. Pretty decent qualifying from Joseph, actually, being in the top 15 despite being a stand-in driver. David Fidok is P17, then Fabian Schiertzig, Jeffrey Fournier and Philip Puschke. These are all drivers that have moved up a place due to a penalty, which we will be getting to in a few seconds. Jonas Vorburn, P21, then it's Florian Geyer, Pascal Polans and Christian Malcharak. The final two cars on the grid are unfortunately both of the Pescara cars. Catalani had to start from the back due to escaping back pits and then going out again in the last race. And Alessandro Quinte had a penalty for avoidable contact as well. So a bit of a disaster from Pescara ADG, which is carried over into this round, and they will be starting last and second to last on the grid. So Ryan, we're just approaching the grid now. A relatively slow formation lap from Adam, but that's okay. He controls the pace, and this just allows the tension to rise, and I'm sure the heartbeats will be thumping away inside these drivers' hearts now.
Yeah, what's your prediction? I'm going to go outside bet of Denahan.
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to bet against Maguire here. I think, yeah, Denahan definitely still has a chance. So does Maguire. Those two have been rapid so far this season. In fact, you know, either of the Maguires could throw a spanner in the works here today, despite Adam, of course, starting from pole position. So we expect him to do well. I am going to have to say Adam Maguire, though. I think that he is by far the quickest driver over a lap. But what about over 58 laps? We are going to find out when those red lights go off. They have to come on first, of course. They will come on one at a time. And when they go off, we'll be underway. Look at the grid positioning from Jake Denahan. That is aggressive, and it's go. Away we go towards turn one. Adam Maguire leads us away. He heads down to the first apex, and he has the lead. There's no one alongside him. Second place, it looks as if Jake Denahan has got through. So Denahan is ahead of Zolt Schukes there. Down towards turn three they go. Luke Maguire is challenging. There you see him on the outside, and further back you've got the Super Venturi cars, the Nocturne cars, the Red Archer. Wide, almost over the curb there goes Mike Quinn, keeps it under control. I missed saying this, but he did a very good job in qualifying as well. A stand-in driver also in the top 10. Philip Pushkin, and there's contact, and that's one of the Pescara ADG cars going off and into the barriers. And it looks as if Alessandro Quinte has dropped to the back of the order. He's missing his front wing, and he either got run into or ran into the back of someone else. And on the outside, Luke Maguire sweeps through into third position. A very, very brave move. We don't even have DRS active yet, but it looks as if he did as he flew past Zolt Schukes, heading towards the weight chicane, and just stuck it on the outside, saying, no, you've got to outbrave me if you're going to stay ahead here. And there was nothing he could do about that. There's the other THR car banging wheels. Further back, this is Tom Stevens versus Daniel Stepkowski. Stevens will have the inside line, but what a first lap and what a move there for third position, and it's two Maguires in the top three, Ryan. Some
brave moves for lap one of a 58 lap race, but fair play, Luke Maguire, he made it work. Shame to see Quinte off so early, but we see a replay here, I'm assuming, of that crash. Yes. Let's see what happens at one of the epic cars.
Yeah, so Herlock.
And
so Herlock was moving slowly there. He'd had a little run through the gravel, and I tell you what, actually, it wasn't Joseph Herlock at all. It was Jeffrey Fournier, indeed, and Fournier's had to come into the pits, so he was affected by that as well. So Fournier and Quinte both into the pits. Quinte might be out of the race here. No, he's just having a slow pit stop. Fair enough. But yes, it looks as if he was just caught off guard a little bit by the slow speed of that car. There's the weight chicane once again. It's Maguire, Denahan, Maguire, and I tell you what, Luke is on such a charge in these early stages. He's already attached himself to the gearbox of Denahan's car, metaphorically, of course. They are still away from each other in the objective universe. Dylan Platt here, Rude Auto Concept car, just outside of the points. Points go down to 15th position here, so that is the magic number for these drivers, fighting slightly further down the order. Little bit of a puff of grass kicked up, and Chris Shepherd gets past Fabian Schiertzig on the inside there. we haven't even spoken about tyres yet. Joseph Herlock appears to be the top driver on the medium compound of tyre here today, and David Feidock the top driver on the full hards, and they're running in 13th and 15th position respectively as we speak. So, as expected, the top 10 all qualified on the soft compound tyre. That does tend to be the way. And then Stepkowski and Wok in the RSRs also electing to start their race on soft tyres and currently running in 11th and 12th positions. Here we are on lap 3. Now this is where Luke is extremely fast. I'm expecting that actually the DRS is open on this lap, isn't it? So he's going to get even closer here, and there's another DRS zone on the exit of on the exit of the weight chicane. And even though it's not necessarily an overtaking opportunity, that is a very aggressive looking car from Luke Maguire. You can tell by the body language that he is aiming to make up positions quickly, and I can tell he fancies himself leading this race before long. Catalani's had enough, and he's missing both his front and rear wing, and the day goes from bad to worse for Pescara ADG.
Yeah, not the start of the Grand Prix that you want in 2 laps, but Adam Maguire looks like it did look like he was starting to pull a gap, but he's managed to lose 4 tenths, it looks like, in that last sector there. You see Jan Cranquist actually with the fastest lap so far down in P6. Just about with the slipstream he's got on Panzer there, but a little bit of a train for him, but looks like Maguire is cruising at the moment. And looks like Luke Maguire is going to start he needs to put the pressure on soon really, otherwise Zoltschuk will be straight back at him. Indeed, Zoltschuk and Robin Panzer, the 2 Adonis cars, 4th and 5th. Menno Klont will be thrilled. Goodness, that was a bit close though. We had a car going sideways, Jannis Fulburn with a big twitch and a good save, and runs through the grass as well, probably a little bit shaken by that, no doubt. Back to Luke Maguire with the DRS. Close to the back of Denahan's car, but Denahan also has the DRS from Maguire, so we have a classic DRS train at this point in time. Fabian Schiertzig there slipstreaming his way to the back of Chris Shepherd's car as well. The problem, of course, with the DRS train is that section of track, of course, isn't technically straight. So you have to be significantly faster than the car ahead. They will always hold the inside line, and you have to drive around them on the outside, and therefore be slightly quicker than you would have to be if it was a straight line. We're going to see a replay of that slide from Jannis Fulburn, and this... Ooh, look at that! Tell you what, that's a very, very blood-rushing situation, and he'd have been feeling the adrenaline in his extremities there. The trouble with that one... Absolutely. The trouble with that one is, as you watch this corner that we're going through now, you see the AstroTurf and the grass on the outside. That's slippery. So when you kick the rear out like that, then the rear ends up on a section of the road with less grip than the front of the car, and it just wants to go all the way around. And he seems to have combated that on that last lap by running all the way off, by the looks of things. Fulburn not getting on particularly well with that corner at this point in time, but that's okay. Still pointing in the straight and narrow, so no harm, no foul. I'll tell you who is doing a good job. Dylan Platt in P16. You know, standing, he was looking for a seat. Yeah. And just scored like only an hour or 2 ago. And he could be on for points today. That's a really good effort from him so far.
Oh, and
see that one off, lost a rear wing. And he's round. Thankfully, everybody avoids. Yeah, he was hit by Chris Shepherd, who was very lucky to maintain his front wing. He's now trying to J-turn it to the pit lane, so returns to the road now. And you see that what happens is when he twitched, he was suddenly moving significantly slower than Shepherd was expecting. And there was absolutely nowhere that Chris could go. And there it is. Yeah, not really anyone's fault there. That's just the kind of thing that happens when you're racing that close. And then, of course, he didn't have the downforce to make it round the next corner. So round he went. And back to the pit lane. Did a good job to avoid that one. Understandably, Pescara ADG appear to have pulled out of this race entirely, so Quinte and Catalani both in the pits and out. And after the first few laps of this race, I don't think that's any surprise there. Here's Grangfist
Now, if that was a straight line, I think he would have gone straight past Robin Panzer there. He certainly appeared to have the overspeed, but the trouble was, with Panzer holding the inside line, that little kink, Grankvist was on the outside, had to run a bit longer, a little bit more road than Robin would have done, and so he just wasn't quite fast enough to get alongside the car in front. I always found that in the FS2 race because I made the mistake of running relatively high rear wings thinking that it was going to rain. And it meant that as soon as one car got up my inside, then I was forced to go to the outside line and just held out to dry as a freight train full of cars went steaming up my inside. But anyway, it's the kind of thing that can happen at that point on the road, and Grankvist has the opposite effect at this point in time, where Panzer ahead is fast enough to hold him off, and he's got to go the long way around. Let's see what he can do on this lap. I think it's still possible to pull an overtake here, but this next corner is a crucial one because it's a tricky one, and if you're gonna get an overtake done, you've got to get a much better exit than that out of that little turn there. Try not to kick up the grass like we saw pretty much everyone doing on that lap, and then you might just have a chance of getting alongside your opponent here into the weight chicane. But the thing I love about it is that you can never really get ahead, and I mean fully ahead of your opponent down here. You still have to finish off the move with courage and creativity. And we saw that plenty in the real world of Grand Prix racing at the weekend, with so many entertaining moves, mainly from Sergio Perez down into that weight chicane there, where he had to finish it off actually during the corner itself. And we've already seen that today as well, with Luke Maguire around the outside of Jolt Sukes on the first lap.
Yeah, it seems like quite a steady start to the race. I don't think there's been quite as much action as I was expecting. That top 10 are only separated by 5 seconds. It's just pretty much nose to tail the entire way, but Dennehan needs to be really, really careful. You know, Maguire's managing that gap quite well, even without the DRS. Obviously, being the leader, he's not going to have any DRS, so Dennehan really, really needs to hold on to that. The people in the best position, I think, right now, Zolt Shucks and Robin Panzer, obviously teammates. Panzer can sort of be the protection from behind, and they can pretty much cruise and just run off each other. I assume they'll be in a call together with their engineer.
Ooh.
As you see, one of the cars going off. Was that Dennehan?
Yeah, Dennehan had a big twitch there.
The gravel?
He's maintained second place, but he had a big twitch.
Bill kept it in the DRS quite well as well. He's only 6/10 off. He kind of lost too much time there, but that's the thing with these downforce cars, you know, following too closely through the chicane. You do lose downforce. He's only far back. He's way far back as well. Let's see what happens. Maybe he gets a little bit wrong over the curb. Oh yeah, just struggle on the outside there.
We saw his teammate Royal did exactly that in qualifying and ended up overcorrecting and slamming into the barrier face first. So Jake's got away rather lucky there, I'd say, right?
Yeah, I'd agree. It was interesting. Usually a mistake like that comes off from maybe bouncing off the curb on the second part of the chicane, but it looked quite smooth. He just kept it too wide too long. As we yellow in sector 1. Wonder what that is. That for Chris Shepherd dropping down the order?
Yeah, I think
still
it's
got
a
wings.
bit slow coming out
he
of
might
turn
just go
2.
for a spin.
It's a quick one anyway, because he's maintained his position in the race. Well, no, he dropped a few places, but he's still in the race, is what I mean to say. This looks like an opportunity maybe for Stefan Ruhl. No, Matthias Moose covering it off very well there. That may have looked a bit harsh with Moose moving over to the right-hand side of the road, but actually, Moose was just holding his line there, and didn't necessarily come across in front of Ruhl. He just kind of let his car drift out a little bit, and that's just what you've got to do to defend at that point on the road. Here is Shepherd's, I say incident. We haven't actually seen what's happened yet, but he certainly lost a couple of places coming out of turn 2 this time around, so we'll see exactly how that happened. Is it going to be a 360? It's a half spin. He taps the wall, but actually that probably did him a favour there, because it kept him from having to reverse out, and he was able to continue on. and his tyres will be toast after that one.
Down on the medium as well, he needed to drag the most out of that tyre as much as he could.
Oh goodness!
You see
there's wings everywhere. So it looks like Jannis Vorburn, I think, has had an incident. Now, he was already a lap down due to his accident earlier on, and he will now be in the familiar situation of having to return to the pit slowly, missing wings, presumably, by what we just saw lying on the road. But anyway, luckily it wasn't any of our leaders. Oh!
What is that? Stefan Rualt!
Yeah. So Rualt's had an incident on the straight. Now right, so we saw an accident there in the Super Lights race where a driver opened their DRS and lost control trying to overtake someone ahead of them.
Moose out as well.
Matthias Moose retires from the race.
The two of them.
Do you reckon that might have been what happened? Well, we're about to see.
I think it might have been what happened on the previous lap, as you see a replay of Jannis Vorburn losing his front. I think it was front wing that he lost.
It was both wings. Here we go. Bang.
Oh yes, it was both wings. I'm gonna guess that it was the same sort of thing that happened last lap. Rualt goes to the outside, maybe.
And sorry, Zult Shukes is in the pits. I think that's strategic. I don't think he was involved in the accident. Up ahead there. Oh goodness. So Moose lost control. Moose slammed into the wall, and then
man, he collects one of the RSR cars as well.
Yeah. So Moose did what I said. He lost control with the DRS open, and then Rualt. Closed. Yeah. Well, no, it was as he slowed down. I think the weight just kind of shifted in a way he wasn't expecting, and he hit Stepkovsky, who has been very lucky to maintain his front wing in that one, maintain his position too. There's Moose retiring from the race, and a very strange one where two cars lost it seemingly by themselves, and both slammed into the wall on what should be basically a straight.
I think what happened with Rualt was, as you see Stevens going up the inside of Mike Quint there, a little lock up, but he gets it done. We're yellow in sector 3 as well, and well, that's 4. Herlock maybe? Herlock's dropping a couple of places. We'll catch up on that in a little bit, but
potentially
looks like Rualt sort of reacted to Moose and obviously had his DRS open and did the same thing that happened to Moose, lost the rear end.
Pantar's in the pits now too, so we are seeing our first few scheduled pit stops. And yeah, unfortunately, it looks like Jannis Vorburn also retired from the race after his incident. No real surprise there. Out of the pits comes Robin Panzer, dropping down to about where his teammate is actually. He'll be coming out basically alongside Jolt Zukes there. Zukes goes through, so they maintain their positions relative to each other. And he's got to be careful here not to lose out to the Mood Auto Concepts car behind him, because otherwise could drop down further. Now here's what happened to lag spike.
Ooh, yes. Is that Vac keeping his rear wing though?
I think so. I think he's okay.
So that's interesting. Obviously R Factor does have the latency, the ghosting for people lagging, but I don't think that applies for people getting an FPS drop, which is what that sort of looked like more than a lag. That's really unfortunate for Herlock. He was having a cracking race, subbing in for Fabio. He was doing the business. He was out-qualified his teammate, was out racing him, and that's a shame. I almost feel a little bit guilty because obviously it's my car that kind of caused that, but...
And the leaders are all in the pits, all of them. The top 4 cars are all in the pits at once here. The top 5, so Tom Stevens stays out, but yeah, Dennehan, Maguire, Granqvist and Stepkovsky all coming in. It's like a swarm in the pits, and a slightly unsafe release there as Dennehan comes out side by side, and Adam Maguire maintains the lead, and through around the outside goes Pollins. So Pollins separates Maguire from Dennehan and then immediately gets out of the way, says, I don't want any part of this. The Adonis cars are right behind them as well. So the order, I think, is just about stayed the same, but it was very close between Maguire and Dennehan on pit exit. And that race that you saw, which could have turned a bit dangerous there, and luckily didn't, that would have been the race for the net lead there, with Maguire now 9th place, Dennehan P10. Then you've got Pascal Pollins, Maguire is there, and then it's Zukes and Panzer. So now the question is what Tom Stevens and Mike Quint are going to be doing and where they will come out. Here's Luke Maguire going past Pascal Pollins now, so he gets up with the top two in the net order. But that was so close on pit exit there.
Yeah, I think it was Maguire THR car had a pretty unsafe release as well. That looked carnage in the pits. I'm very surprised that they all darted on the same lap.
Yeah.
You try to see people offset the strategy, but you know, they know better than we do. They've got engineers in their ears telling them exactly what to do.
Do you reckon they were all a bit surprised to see each other pitting at the same time? Like, my turn, wait, no, they're all coming in.
I'm not sure. I've never seen it like that. Usually you're getting told in your ear, like, opposite of in front of you.
It's
and
like,
you have time to react.
It's like when there's a virtual safety car or something, you know, when, when there's a VSC in real life and everyone's like, right, in we go. It's
not like they couldn't see it coming, you know? Anyway, back to the race, as we see Granquist losing out there to Robin Panzer. But the gap seems to have stretched out a little bit. Not the best strategic call by a lot of these guys getting stuck in traffic. You know, we saw Dennehan getting split there by, was it Pascal Pollins who split them?
Indeed, there's Shirtzik losing 2 places and Dennehan getting closer to Maguire in the process. Much closer to the back of Maguire and setting the fastest second sector as he does it with that double DRS. Shepard losing out, running wide at the weight chicane. He seems to be in some sort of trouble there. Jukka-Pekka Lalu briefly leads this race by about 3 seconds, and he comes into the pits now. And David Fidok will stay out and lead this race. He is, of course, on the hard compounded tyre, so no real surprise there. And here is Luke Maguire on the back now of Fabian Shirtzik himself. And struggling to get past in the straight line. Now, talking of tyres, there is actually there's a difference in tyres now between Maguire and Dennehan. So Maguire has come out on, those will be hard tyres, won't they? And Dennehan will be on mediums, I think. There you go, yeah, so Dennehan on theoretically the faster tyre. Now is his time to pounce if he can, because otherwise he's going to be getting held up for a bit.
I still don't think it's gonna. I mean, it could be a one-stop from. I don't understand why, if Maguire was gonna one-stop on hard.
And Dennehan goes through.
Around the outside.
Good move. Gets it done before the corner.
Really good. He's got to be one-stopping.
There was contact.
Who was that off?
Schultz shoots.
Shucks off.
And it was contact with Shirtzik, I think. Shirtzik was in there.
Yeah, I think that the green stripes car sort of was the catalyst for that one. Granquist capitalising though, making a move on Panzer. Shuk's really lucky to come out safe there, back in P7.
Absolutely, goodness me. So the race getting very interesting now, and even though Dennehan is ahead of Maguire, they are on different strategies, and even if they're going to make the same number of pit stops at the end of this thing now, this stint in the race means a very different thing to each of them. Now here is a replay of the collision that we just saw. This is Shuk's on the outside of Shirtzik now, who's going to come across. I think he deserved more room than that, don't you?
Yeah, I'd say so. I don't understand why he was battling so hard, but you know, it's his track position, he's entitled to it, I guess.
Yeah, and he'll argue that Zult was not fully alongside him, and you know, technically Shirtzik did have the corner. He was ahead, but still, I think that was a little aggressive. Now this is close. This is Maguire coming back at Dennehan. Oh, and Dennehan closes the door. Good stuff from Jake Dennehan, who has severe traffic here. This is David Fidok, and the reason I say severe is because Fidok is under no obligation to let him through. Up the inside, Dennehan goes through. Fidok splits the two of them. Now we wait for Maguire to make his move. It will come soon. Fidok might well pit soon as well, because he is on those hard tyres. And actually he'll probably stay out for a bit because some of his rivals, such as Dylan Platt, are still out there on the road. Out of the final corner they go on this particular lap. This is Maguire's chance. He's got to either go through here or set up Fidok for the second DRS straight. He's going to go through here, up the inside, through he goes. So Dennehan and Maguire back to first and second, and they are separated by less than a second, which means of course that Maguire gets the DRS.
I'm still really confused by the strategy call here. So they all darted into the pits at the same time. So at that point, I would have expected them to go onto the same tyres, in theory.
Yeah.
Because if, say, Maguire's gone onto hards, if he was going to one stop, he would have extended them soft, not gone in at the same time as Dennehan has gone on mediums. I'm really, unless somebody can clarify it in the chat, I'm not too sure what to expect really for the rest of this. But yeah, again, could be banking on it going wet.
Yeah, indeed, I agree. I think it might just be a tyre preference thing at this point in time. I think that the no rain forecast we're just being told by Szymon Frelik there. But yes, I think it's probably just that they feel more comfortable running longer on a different type of tyre. I agree with you, Ryan. I still think that they're both going to make another pit stop in this race. Of course, Maguire is the one who might be looking at a one stop now, since he is on those hard tyres and presumably dropping back from Dennehan. There's Maguire getting a place from Platt, who's yet to stop. Platt running very long on those mediums, by far the longest medium runner in this race so far.
He's still doing a good job as well.
Yep, not losing too much time.
Keeping it clean, which is exactly what he needs to do.
Only about a second off Vidok, who he was following, so probably not going to be a top 10 competitor at this rate, depending on how the race goes, but you know, definitely on course for maybe P14 or 15.
You know what they say, points make prizes, and as a stand-in driver, that's all you can ask for really when you've got, you know, like an hour or two's advance on a race. You see Maguire going through on Vidok there.
Now here is the battle for the lead once again. Maguire is sticking with Dennehan, which is exactly what he needs to do. Keep that DRS for as long as he possibly can. Adam in a very good position at this point in time. Of course, the difficulty is that if they do both need to make one more stop, as I'm suggesting, it doesn't really matter that Maguire is in a good position here, because he is going to have to get ahead of Dennehan somehow, either by jumping him in the pit stage or by passing him on track once again. And right now, I don't think he'll necessarily be thinking about that, but it would definitely throw a spanner in the works if he could get back through. Dylan Platt is in the pits, and the longest medium tyre runner from the start of the race goes onto a set of hards. This might be a one stop from Dylan, actually. I think he can probably do it.
I think you can. I still think that's on the short side for a set of mediums. I was expecting more like 22, 23 laps out of them mediums, but let's see. Obviously he's used to racing super lights or SL2, so maybe pushing the tyres a bit harder than he needs to in SL1. But
Maguire's got a chance. Maguire's coming back here at Jake Dennehan, and he goes back through.
It?
He goes back through on the outside of the weight chicane, just as Dennehan did to him a couple of laps ago. Stepkovsky has now got past Filip Pushke there. But what a move from Adam Maguire, and that could be a defining move in this race now, because Dennehan is not going to be able to get away from him on those softer tyres, and Maguire has not just the strategic advantage, but the track position as well.
I don't believe he's managed that. You know, go back 2 laps. I thought it was not over, but you know, when Maguire and Dennehan got split by Vidok, I think it was, I expected the gap to start and then from then Dennehan run away, but it's been the opposite. I can't believe we've seen so many moves, like clean moves into that corner. Well, I say into that corner, it always seems to be before we even get to the corner. That's cracking from Adam Maguire on the harder tyre as well. He's just got to keep his head down and just push. You know, even if he does go on a two-stop strategy, the same as Dennehan, well, same as what we think Dennehan's going to do, you know, he's got a little bit more tyre to work with. If he's got the same pace when he's on the harder tyre, and he's going to have better tyre wear, he's got 21, and he knows it.
Maguire, who won here last year, has the advantage in 2023. Robin Pansar here has the advantage of being with his teammate, York Hughes, who's just up the road and fighting with, well, himself by the look of it. I was going to say fighting with Jan Grankvist, but off he went into the grass briefly. Here's Jukka-Pekka Lalu, P12 in the Super Venturi car, just by Mike Quint, who is challenging the top 10 on his stand-in performance in that Nocturne car. Little bit of a twitch, curb slightly slippery, but he's got away with it. We're 20 laps into this race now. Maguire leading from Denahan by just 0.4 of a second. Very close between the top two, but I think Maguire has the advantage. Then it's Luke Maguire in third position, David Fidok P4, and then Jan Grankvist, Zolk Schukes, Robin Pansar, Tom Stevens, Daniel Stupkowski and Philip Pushgate. And the rest of the points as it stands are Quint, Lalu, Wok, Platt and Pollance, the top 15 cars. We have 21 cars remaining in this race now after Rort and Moose had their own, technically separate, realistically the same accident earlier on. And all of those 21 cars are on the lead lap, so even though we've seen a little bit of lappery, that was only because of the pit stages. As Grankvist gets Fidok now, that's not necessarily for position. Fidok's still yet to stop. And
Grankvist having a good race.
I agree.
He's really, really solid driver. I mean, we knew that coming into the season anyway, but he's proven it time and time again. Outperforming his teammate by a decent bit as well.
He's properly jumped the Adonis cars, hasn't he? And Stevens. Actually,
Yes.
where's Tom behind the Adonis cars? I swear he was ahead.
He's been behind all day.
Oh, no, he was... Yeah, my apologies.
Yeah, he was in P10 before the Rewalt Moose crash. The big loser out of it all looks like Thomas Wack. He was with Stepkowski. They were P10 and 11. 11 and 12, sorry. And something seems to have... we might have missed something, but just seems to be slightly off the back.
Yeah, he had that lag spike earlier, didn't he?
Lag spike, yeah, he did.
Could he have had more, maybe? I hope not, because that could be dangerous.
Not sure. Could also have actually got a bit of damage. Obviously not visual, because he's got both of his wings. But again, he's still in the train. There's still a chance for him. And he's gone up to P12. Have we had somebody pit there? Yeah,
David Fidok's been in.
David Fidok, yes. He was on the hard.
There are the Adonis swapping places, sorry. So Pansar goes ahead of Schukes, decides my turn with the 5th place. And through he goes. There's Tomasz Wok now going for a move as well, up into P11, right around the outside of Philip Pushgate. Very, very fast. Now,
is it done early?
Yeah, so with Fidok's pit stop, he's come out in P14. He's surely going for a one stop at this point. I mean, he's on the hard tyres, so I'd be surprised if he went for anything else. Keep an eye on him as well. I don't think it's necessarily going to challenge the top guys, but you never know. An alternate strategy like that.
He was on hard.
Oh, you're right, he was.
Start with. So he'll have to do a 2-stop. Unless he hasn't gotten on hards there, I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I mean, according to race views on hard, so yeah, it looks like it is a 2-stop. My apologies.
Could do hard, soft.
Yeah. Normally it's the other way around, but yeah, that's doable. Philip Pushke in the pits as well, in the Stax car. So that gives Fidok one more place, and puts Fabian Schitzik into the points as it stands. So, Jake Denahan sticking with Maguire just as Maguire did to him before. We're expecting one more pit stop from both of them, but neither of them technically need to come in again. And we could be seeing some mind games between the two in these late stages. They're far enough ahead of Luke Maguire now that they don't really have to worry about him for the time being. It looks as if it's a 2-horse race here at Albert Park for the time being. And providing they keep it clean between each other, it should remain that way for the rest of the race. Down the start-finish straight they go again. One of 4 DRS zones that Jake Denahan gets around this lap. He'll be opening it at every opportunity, but overtaking is a different matter. And he might just have given up on doing so in this stint. He'll presumably make his last stop before Maguire as well, so maybe he'll be thinking about the undercut opportunity.
We did go in sector 3 for a little bit there, see Maguire make a little bit of a mistake on exit there. Needs to be careful. That's all it takes is one moment and your race is over. But we're
Indeed.
over a third of the way through the Grand Prix now. It's been pretty hectic start. We've had like 5, 6.
Denahan's close. He was
Not
very
close
close
enough.
to the back of the of Maguire through the weight chicane that time. That'll be a residual effect of the slight off that Maguire had earlier on in this lap. And again, I mean, Verstappen went off the other last weekend and still went on to win the Grand Prix. So it's, you know, keep your nerve and you can still do it. Here's a replay of what just took place. And this is Pascal Pollins, actually, who is slightly further down the order. And this will be the yellow in Sector 3 that we saw, potentially. Big spin! Oh, he's kept his wing, just about.
He only losing 1 place as well, actually, from that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 2, sorry, yeah, he loses, got to Flo Geyer as well there.
And there was just a change slightly further up the order. I think Lalu just dropped back a tiny bit. I think Stepkowski's got through.
Yes, he has. Let's see what he can do for the remainder of this race. Hopefully him and Tom Stevens can get the head down.
Lalu and Stepkowski aren't near each other on the road, so maybe I mistook that. Did he just pass Quint, maybe?
Could have been Vac, actually. Are we missing somebody from that group? Vac's gone up a position as well. Unless that was Boland's, actually. Sorry, that he might have overtaken there. So you have missed something there in the replay. Sorry about that, gents.
It's the most frustrating thing when you're watching the live timing and you see the order change. You see movement, but you're not quite quick enough to see who it was. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, we've got a good little train here. Same as I was saying for Stepkowski and Stevens. Hopefully they can just knuckle down in this middle part, almost middle part of the race. You see Fidok, was that?
Yeah.
On Dylan Platt?
Dylan Platt.
These two seem to be stuck together all the way through this race.
Now, Fidok was ahead of Platt before their pit stop, so it looks as if Platt kind of jumped him, but they are on different strategies. And Fidok now going through. Now, Jake Denahan still on the back of Adam Maguire. And putting pressure on him, which we know is working, because Maguire made a mistake a lap ago. Just in this little corner here, which is an important one, it kind of sets you up for the whole second sector. Not quite as important as this next corner, of course, but it does. Tiny twitch from Denahan. Maguire kicking up a tiny bit of grass, not perfect from either of them, but it's not really going to catalyze any sort of imminent scrap.
It's such a fast part of the track now with the modifications.
Yeah.
I've not actually driven with this layout yet, but you know, from a spectator point of view, it looks really quite something.
It's funny, the track itself, when you drive it, it feels like the old variant because all of the old corners are still there, and yeah, some of them have been slightly reprofiled. This next corner, for example, this one that they've just been through, I find that one quite funny because they have reprofiled it. It's more of a right angle now, but it actually feels exactly the same as the old version of that corner because you apex in exactly the same place and you take about the same amount of speed through the corner. Maybe it's a little bit faster, but I mean, it feels the same. But yeah, I mean, the rest of the circuit, even though it feels the same to drive, it does change the racing, and it does provide an extra overtaking opportunity that was sorely needed. So I think it's a good thing. I do like this new track layout for sure, and I think it's a challenge, especially this next corner here. This one's tricky. Looks relatively easy, but it's actually quite blind through there. You need to imagine where the apex is before you can see it. And that's why we see people kicking up the grass through there.
You see, I was gonna say, it seems like the fast line as well is to take just a little bit of grass on exit, which is always risky, but it seems to be working for everybody so far.
You have to keep in mind that in terms of heavy braking zones, you go all the way from the exit of turn 3 right up to the start of the third sector before you have another heavy braking zone. So yeah, that middle sector, even though you are on the brakes for some of it, is so fast, and it's sweeping. You still have corners in it and all, but it's a real momentum-based sector for sure.
And like I was saying earlier on, it's weird that people take fast engines here now. In my eyes, it was never known as a fast track, but now it really, really is. That's reflected in people's engine choices. Apart from a few people, obviously, there's always a couple who've gone for a strange strategy. Indeed.
Former winner of this race, Liam Duval, is in the YouTube chat saying, "I'm back, guys. How is my favourite driver, Adam Maguire, doing?" Well, I have good news for you, actually. Very, very well. He has not just the strategic advantage, but he's leading this race and looks relatively comfortable. Admittedly, he would prefer not to have Jake Dennehan right in his gearbox, but still. Yamadok saying that they believe T6 is the trickiest corner on the track. That's the corner I was telling you about with the blind entry, and I would agree with that. To be honest, I think it's the toughest in the race. I think in qualifying, probably the final corner is tougher, just because of the balance of the car and the mental gymnastics you have to do to line the car up properly. By the way, looks if Grankvist just got past Shooks on that last lap. I think that was the position, wasn't it? Shooks lost about a second, so maybe a mistake there.
No, other way around.
Other way around, sorry, Pansar, yes.
Yeah, got past.
My apologies. So that's for P4 there.
I do, going back to the YouTube chat, I do have to laugh. Our very own social media guru, Owen Harmon, is very happy with the current order of the podium as an Irishman. So, yeah, it seems quite processional at the moment. We've got a couple of people grouped together, and it's been quite quiet ever since the Saw Moose incident. But give it, when were they pitting the first time? Give it another sort of 7 or 8 laps maybe, and we'll start to see the pit window come back into it, and then everything will go, ballistic again.
Yamadok saying Liam got P2, not the win. That is not correct, I'm afraid. Liam did win here in 2021. It was quite a... Oh, do you mean the other... Oh, you mean the other day in Super Lights? Yeah, Liam, of course, bizarrely, in my opinion, moving down to Super Lights. I think he's absolutely capable of racing in Super League and probably should be here, but anyway. Yeah, finished second here the other day. But yeah, no, he won here in Super League in 2021. Racing for Adonis. And Adam Maguire, actually, I've been referring to him as last year's winner. Adam has actually won here twice in the past. He won here in 2020 as well as 2022. And the other former winner of this Grand Prix who's on the grid today, Jeffrey Fournier, unfortunately all the way down in P17 as it stands. So the times have changed a bit. And
Jeff's not doing too bad considering the start of the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Working his way back up as Steve Stepkowski going a little bit wide there. It looks like he really needs to get a move on with getting past Tom Stevens. He's getting pressure from a backmarker as well, which is it's always a tricky one. As a backmarker, you kind of want them to move so you can get on with your race, but there's a lot of risk there. But him and Stevens are doing an okay job. I think they're starting to ever so slightly catch back up to the Adonis car. It's sort of been hovering around the 2 to 3 second range. But if I was Stevens, with 20 odd laps, see Dennehan going to the pits. That's definitely big, especially considering he was on the mediums and he pitted on originally lap 15, was it?
Here we go then, this will be another set of mediums to take him to the end, and he will be thinking about the undercut here, which is a real possibility, keep in mind. He might well still undercut Adam Maguire, who's got to respond soon, but I tell you what, he's going to come out right side by side with Mike Quint. Quint sweeps past him, and Dennehan now has two battling cars, keep in mind, to get through. Quint going defensive here on Jake Dennehan, who takes to the outside. He's got one. The next car up the road is Jukka-Pekka Lally, who's not going to be quite so easy now that it's all settled down. And Jake would not have liked this view when he came out of the pits. He's actually on the hard compounded tyre, so making especially sure that he's going to be running to the very end, and that means that Jake has. Oh, sorry. Well, let's commentate on this first. Jake on the outside, right around Jan Grankvist. Very good move there.
And a big twitch.
Big twitch, but he's made it stick. And he'll have the DRS now, so he'll be able to fend off Jan Grankvist there. But what I was going to say is that Jake has managed to pull off the rare trinity of tyres. He started on the softs, he went to the mediums, and now he's on the hards as well. And that is quite a rare strategy. We look for it at every round, and sometimes there's one or two backmarkers who do it, but you rarely see it from someone contesting for the win. But Jake has done what he needs to on that lap. He's got ahead of the drivers he was battling with, and there's still a chance that he can undercut Adam Maguire. That is, of course, assuming that Maguire is going to pit anyway. We do think he's going to make another stop in this race, but he doesn't necessarily need to. And it's now Maguire 1-2 with Adam leading from Luke second.
I mean, that was heart and mouth stuff. That strategy, very, very poor from his race engineer there, putting him out not only in traffic, but he came out behind Maguire's teammate. That's the last person you want to come out behind in a race situation. Like, you saw him defending. Thankfully he got through, and I understand why he made that move into the chicane, but man, that was tough. But he's coming through it. But we're probably going to have to wait a few laps to see Maguire box. Obviously he was on the hard tyre, Dennehan on the medium. Let's see how the race pans out. There's still time, but I mean, I do think we're going to see Maguire pit again. Looking at when the other people who went on hards at the start of the race and when they've pitted, I think we are going to expect another pit stop there. Stemkowski getting a little bit closer to the back of Tom Stevens, still not quite made the move, but they do seem to be getting closer to Jolsux, which is pretty key for them guys. Again, there was another couple of seconds in front of that to Granquist, and another couple of seconds ahead to Panzer, but if they can keep the head down for now, when the pit stops come back into it, again, it probably takes one little mistake from one of them ahead and they both could jump ahead.
Indeed. One thing I've been looking at actually while the race. Sorry, Robin Panzer has really caught up to Luke Maguire, hasn't he? He's on a bit of a charge here, having passed Jan Grankvist not that long ago. Yeah, one thing I was just looking at is that apparently the Australian Grand Prix has been held every year of GPWC competition, way back to 2000 when this championship started up, and that's very impressive. So this is the 24th edition of this fantastic race, and I think that must make it the only Grand Prix where that's happened. I don't know if maybe the British Grand Prix has been held every year or something like that.
Probably a Silverstone has been the same. Sees all shucks going to the pits.
Yeah. Putting on a set of hard tyres. I expect most of the drivers will be now to run to the end. And out of the pits he goes.
Get some nice clean air as well.
Indeed. What about the third step of the podium? We've been talking a lot about the leaders, but Maguire, Panzer, they both have a real chance here. And what about the drivers on alternate strategies too? I think Robin Panzer's looking strong for that place right now.
Panzer's flying, and it's come. Oh, you see a big mistake from Maguire.
Here's his chance.
This could open the opportunity. Yeah, it's a decent braking zone as he darts to the inside, gets it done. Good move.
Maguire does not cover it off, so through goes Robin Panzer into second position in this race, which will presumably be net third, depending on what happens to Jake Dennehan in the next few laps. Here's Maguire now, as Panzer and Luke Maguire navigate the final corner of this lap. Adam staying out longer, as expected, of course, on those hard tyres, taking advantage of the clean air, as Jan Grankvist pits from 5th position. I think the trouble Maguire has now is that So Denahan's lapping relatively quickly here. I have a feeling that if Maguire was to... Yes, I think... Sorry, I think you might be right there, Szymon. I think Granqvist may have had an incident here, because if you look at him in the pit lane there, it looks as if he's missing his rear wing. That may have happened on pit entry, actually. Yeah, I think that might have happened on pit entry, because I was expecting him to pit around about now. He's got the rear wing on. And here's Luke Maguire, actually. So this is Luke running in third position. And that's the mistake that we saw. Big twitch midway through the weight chicane. He would not have been expecting that. Normally it's the exit where everything starts to go wrong. And that's where Panzer got through. So here's what happened to Granqvist then. All okay through there. Might well be pit entry when it happened. That's the... And by the way, while we're watching this replay, Adam Maguire is in the pits. So we will come back from this at a crucial moment. And there it is, big twitch, slammed into the barriers on the inside. Panzer and Luke Maguire into the pits now as well. They all still have their rear wings attached, so that's good to see. And Jake Denahan, sorry, I believe Jake Denahan has taken the lead of the race on pit exit. Can we see that, please? Jake Denahan has got through. And there he is ahead of Adam Maguire, who isn't even in the shot, as Denahan goes around the outside of Tom Stevens, who's going to be hung out to dry, and he takes the lead. Jake Denahan takes the lead of the race. Adam Maguire is not just behind Tom Stevens, but there's a lap car in there somewhere as well. And there you see it on the timing screen, so that's about 2 seconds now that Jake Denahan, 2.5 seconds that Denahan has gained over a car he was running behind. And Maguire now knows that if he's going to win this race, he's going to have to pull that move on the track. I think Denahan's earlier pit stop is going to prove crucial in the order of this race, the finishing order of this race, when all is said and done. But that's a big moment in this race, Ryan.
I still think Maguire's got it. He's got a massive tyre advantage. That's a good, what's thick? Laps for
6, 7 laps.
4, 5, 6 laps, something like that, yeah. Tyre advantage, though. But again, Denahan did exactly what he needed to do, getting past Stevens. That was pretty crucial, and he just needs to keep his head down now. But I imagine Stevens isn't going to make it very hard for Maguire, since they are basically in, the same camp, same team. So yeah, maybe there'll be a bit of tactic there. Utilising the DRS together, but obviously you have got that back marker as well, which peels out of the way now, I was about to say.
Indeed.
So Maguire, sorry.
No, I was going to say, unfortunately I can't seem to find when Maguire made his stop just yet, but I will get that to you in a few minutes.
Stevens has pitted as well, sorry, that's where I was getting confused. And he's come out behind Stepkowski as well. So that's good strategy.
And Maguire's already gained a second, look at that.
Yeah, easy. You've got it.
I wouldn't say it's that easy. They can obviously keep up with each other. Look at that, nearly 3 wide with Luke Maguire in the midst of Dylan Platt and Robin Panzer. Now, I think, so when did... Sorry, it's not Maguire's pit stop I'm looking for, is it? It's Jake Denahan's pit stop, and that was on lap 31. So yeah, there was about a 5 lap. And into the wall there, Panzer's touched the barriers. So Panzer there bounces off the barriers and loses out to Luke Maguire. Whoops.
Lucky to keep his wings.
Yeah.
Definitely, but could have thrown the track into the car off a little bit as Maguire's in the pits. Did he get a drive-through penalty?
He might have done. Adam Maguire has dropped back even further.
Oh my word.
So it's not Luke Maguire second. Goodness me. That spoils the end of this race, I'm afraid to say.
Must be too much speed on pit entry. That's what it's got to be. What else? I'm not sure what else it could be. The Panzer again hitting the wall there on the replay. That has turned the race upside down, and I'm trying not to jinx Denahan, but that is going towards my prediction.
I'd agree with that, I'm afraid to say. Well, I'm afraid to say it, not because I have anything against Jake Denahan, but because I would have loved to see this fight go right to the end of this race. And
Can
unfortunately,
we get on board? Yes.
so there he is locking up the tyres on the way into the pits. And that
Oh,
lockup...
he doesn't put his pit limiter on.
Wow. So it wasn't the lockup itself that hampered him, it was the fact he didn't then go to the pit limiter, is that right?
I believe so. That's what it looked like from that shot there, but
Okay.
gutted. Absolutely gutted for Adam. It was his race to lose, and that's, you know, all it takes is a mistake. We've seen some people hit the wall, and now we've seen somebody get a penalty. Not what the Nocturne camp was looking for.
Jake now has 10 seconds over Luke Maguire, 11 seconds in that last sector. And we saw him win by about that margin last week, and I said it was rare to see a Super League race be determined by such a massive gap as 10 seconds, but I think we might be seeing that again today. Jake Dennehan, I mean, it's not going to tell the full story, is it? The gap, even though it's going to be massive, won't represent exactly how this race has felt, with Jake Dennehan fighting away with Adam Maguire, but at the end of the day it was a mistake from Adam. Now Adam is right behind Luke Maguire here, and those two, despite being brothers, and identical twins at that, are not teammates, so this is a genuine fight that could affect the order of this race, and it will affect the fight for second. And I think Adam Maguire has the advantage at this point with the tyres and the car, but yeah, that's for slightly lower honours on the podium. Of course, there's a chance Jake may have won the race anyway, but as I said, it would have been a fascinating end to the race, and I'd have loved to have seen that finish. But unfortunately, with 18 laps to go, I think 10 seconds is a bit much to make up at this point. Meanwhile,
you know, we could see another mistake from Dennehan. You never know.
You never know. Just seen a very quick lap from Robin Panzer here. He's still flying on the back of these cars here. I think he sniffs an opportunity of not just P3 but P2 now. Robin Panzer, I'd be surprised if we didn't see him on the podium at the end of this one at this rate. Not quite the first lap of the race though. That is currently being held by Geoffrey Fournier, who only needs to gain one more position to get a point for that, as Maguire goes round the outside and Adam takes Luke. There he is, second place for Adam Maguire, just as it was before. So the penalty hasn't cost him that much. May have cost him the win, but of course we'll never know. And now the attention switches to whether Robin Panzer can follow him through in due time.
Yeah, I mean, shame for Panzer really. If he didn't have that mistake, he would have possibly been in P2 right now. But we say that, look at the gap. Right, when the timing tower goes back to the deltas, last I saw it was down 9 seconds. It is coming down 8 seconds between Adam Maguire and, as we see, Dylan Platt going in for his final pit stop of the race. It is coming down a little bit to Dennehan. You know, if it comes down at that sort of rate, there could still be a chance for a race. But
well,
we'll see. The tyre advantage will go off soon, I'd imagine.
I'd agree with that. I think Dennehan's going to respond when he sees the lap times that Maguire is setting. He's going to have to, because I tell you what, Dennehan was nowhere near Maguire's lap that last time around. Adam Maguire sets the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:20.546. We're approaching GPVWC lap record pace, even though the cars from last year are theoretically faster. The race lap record around here was only a 1:20.0, so, you know, another half second we could be seeing the race lap record this year with Adam Maguire. Of course, there's only been 2 years where this version of the track has been used, but anyway, it is significantly faster than the old variant of the circuit. Here's Mike Quint. If he can get a top 10 today, I'm sure Nocturne will be overjoyed. And even though Moritz Kropp is coming back, I'm sure Mike will be welcome back anytime they need a reserve driver. Rear wing open on the back of that car. I'm sure Mike's done some Super League races in the past as well. He's the kind of driver who's been here or hereabouts pretty much since I've been a part of GPWC. You always see Mike Quint somewhere.
Yeah, it seems like Stevens have got past Stepkowski as well at some point.
Yes.
Don't think we've seen that on the stream. Owen McGorgy in the chat making a valid point, saying that when you don't push the pass and have DRS on a fresh set of tyres, it's pretty hard not to get a fastest lap, which is true, but it's the little wins. Come on, let Jeff have it, as we see him have an overtake, and there's a wing there from a car.
Joseph Hurlock, maybe?
I'm not sure. Yellow Inspector 3 as well. I'm not sure what's gone on there. It's the opposite sector of the track we were in there.
I'm afraid Christian Malcharak appears to be out of the race here, so Malcharak has been involved somehow, I think. And we have 20 cars remaining in this race, 18 on the lead lap, and there's a move for Fabian Schitzik, nearly on Jeffrey Fournier. Meanwhile, David Fidok's in the pits, so making that late stop for, I think, soft tyres that we were talking about earlier. Almost looked as if he was missing his front wing there, but I think it was just the shadows.
Yes, I see what you mean actually looking at it, but it does look like it was missing. And we see Platt go around the outside. These two have been together the entire race. They'll be fair to each other after this.
Fidok's going to be on his tail in a couple of laps. They'll be fighting again, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, Fidok's got a little bit fresher tyres by two laps maybe over Dylan. But even if Dylan comes away with a P12, that's really, really good effort, as we see Tom Stevens make the move on Jolt Schucks. Going super quick. He seems to have found some extra pace. And Stepkowski also potentially getting onto the back of Schucks there. Not having the greatest end to the race. He's not quite had the pace of his teammate, who's gone really quite far forward, but now seems to be struggling to get near the Maguire twins.
Indeed. Now, it's a bit late for me to bring this up, but this is actually Joseph Hurlock's GPWC Super League debut, as we saw a brief flash of yellow and then switched to Denahan. That was a bit worrying, but I don't think it was Jake that brought out that yellow. Yeah, Joseph has done super lights in the past. He was third in Monaco in 2022, but this is his first actual Super League race, so welcome to the big time, Joseph Hurlock. Mike Quint has done it plenty before, I'm afraid to say. He is in his 11th GPWC Super League race today, and none of them have been done. I mean, he's never done a full season in Super League. He's very much a kind of super sub type character. Best result of 8th place, also in Monaco in 2018. But yeah, his actual full campaigns have come in the slightly lower categories as well. Here is Mike Quint fighting with Jakub Lalu for P9. I swear there was a third driver standing in for this round. Do you remember who that was?
We had Hurlock, Platt and Quint.
Ah, Dylan Platt, of course, yes.
Wrong replay there. Let's see. Maybe just back to Jan Granqvist. Pushing on with Philip Pushka. Sorry, that was a little bit of a pun there, but yeah, steady race for Philip this time round. Not quite the result he's probably looking for after his past couple of races. He seems to be. He's getting there. He's definitely getting along with his car a lot better than he was, especially last season. And it's nice to see Stax having two consistent drivers and good guys as well in that car. I'm sure Christian will be over the moon with that one.
It's an important thing to have for sure. Well, keep an eye on the lap times between Maguire and Denahan, because it is still coming down quite significantly. On the last lap it was 0.8 of a second, and at this rate he would be on the back of Jake Denahan before the end of the race. So could we still have a fight for the lead here?
I'm surprised where this pace is coming from.
Yeah, and he's bringing Luke with him. Robin Panther unfortunately has dropped off the pace the last few laps. I think he might have made a mistake a couple of laps ago. As there, Fidog does get past Dylan Platt. The battle that never ceases. They're on the same compound tyre here, although Fidogs are newer. And there is Jan Grankvist. Pascal Pollent's on the soft tyres out there at the back. Seems to just be having a bit of fun at this point. The majority of the other drivers on hards, and no real surprise there. You do see drivers preferring the hards, especially in the real world of Formula 1. Pretty much everyone was on the hards almost all the way through the race. But yeah.
I always find it interesting, not just in real life, but in the sim as well, where certain compounds just don't do it at certain tracks.
Yeah.
I always find, in your head you just think it's a faster tyre, it'll be better. It's not always the case. Some cars are suited to different compounds. And we see Sokowski here getting onto the back of Jolt Cooks again, a little bit closer this time round. Mike Quinn still going at it with Akalalu. Again, we got a few little groups forming. No overtakes as of yet, but wow. Every time I look up at that time tower, the time has come down between the top two. I am concerned for my Denahan prediction, is all I'm going to say. That's really not looking good. If I was Edge, I'd be panicking right now. They've only got one driver in the race and he's getting caught in the lead. Yeah,
it's going to be a much closer finish than I was expecting. Before it all, oh goodness, that last lap, 7 tenths off. Goodness, so Maguire's still really gaining. Now, just to update you quickly before it all starts to really kick off, because I'm sure it will. Dylan Platt is in his 5th GPVWC Super League race today. Here's Stepkovsky on the back of Shukes. Possibly could have tried to have a go on the outside there, but anyway, biding his time. And Platt's best result so far has been 14th place, which he scored on his debut at Italy last year. So he's set to improve on that today. Although Australia is clearly a track he goes well at because he won here last year in Super Lights. I saw someone in
race, that one.
I think it was, yeah, from memory, I think it was. No chance of rain today. We're hearing it's scheduled for about 90 minutes from now, but no chance of the race going on that long unless they throw a few tactical red flags at this point. 10 laps to go in this race now. 4 seconds between the leaders. The gap is coming down very significantly. Unbelievably, we still have a fight for the lead. There is a train of thought that says Jake might just be biding his time so he has the tyres to fight Maguire in a bit, and maybe when Maguire gets closer, Jake's times will pick up, but
I don't agree with that.
No, I'm just playing devil's advocate there. I think we do genuinely have a fight for the lead on our hands here.
I agree with that statement if it was down to 7 seconds from 10. Down to into the 3 seconds, I don't think that's him preparing for a battle. I think that's him genuinely struggling, which I'm very surprised at. We knew Maguire had an advantage, 2 tenths up in quali, but this is like 7-8 tenths a lap. He's struggling to pull away from Herlock, which equally says quite a lot about Herlock. He's been, that P19 isn't reflective of what he's done today, I don't think. Stepping in for his debut, he was up in P13 at one point, I think, so he's had a cracking go, but just the luck hasn't gone his way. That incident with the lag spike from Thomas Bach, bit of a shame for him, but maybe he'll be back next round to prove himself, get some points for that epic racing team.
The gap now 3.9 seconds. Came down by 5/10 on the last lap. Not quite 5/10, it was a little bit under. Oh, but I tell you what, that last sector, the middle sector on that last lap, Maguire absolutely flying. In the 18-second range was Adam Maguire. I heard an ooh there from Szymon Frelik.
I think that was. Was that not Shucks skipping the chicane? As we see Sapkowski go for the move, gets it done.
So that allows Stepkowski to squeeze his way through into P6. Not bad at all. And here's a replay of what just took place there. So Zolciuk's going to make a little mistake on the way into the corner.
No, second part. That was very weird.
I thought he could make the corner there. Yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't a twitch, there wasn't understeer, he just skipped the corner and lost a place.
At least he stayed on, is all I'm going to say. Nothing bad came of that. So, anyway, move on from that. Stepkowski can try to get his head down, maybe give Stevens a run for his money. 8 laps to go. There's still a chance, but Maguire is under 2 seconds now. Oh man, even I feel sick to my stomach looking at that. I can only... Dennehan will be looking at his delta to Maguire behind, just watching it come down and down, and I wouldn't even want to be in
ticking down faster than the lap counter is
right now. As we see Jeff Fournier putting in new fastest lap of the race again. I think he's been in again for tyres. As he's down in P17, I think he was in 14th last we saw.
Wow. Tension building here in the latter stages of the Australian Grand Prix. Jeffrey Fournier sets fastest lap. Unfortunately, he's got about 64 seconds to get into the leaders, so unfortunately it's a bit late for that. How bad does it sneeze? Goodness.
This time around the gap doesn't look as... well, it still looks bad, but it doesn't look as bad. Imagine if Dennehan is just playing a massive tyre / push to pass advantage here, and he's just basically not even tried for the last, like, say 10 laps. That'd be hilarious, but I still don't think that's the case. We'll see. You know, Maguire might have pushed too hard. He did have the tyre advantage. It might start to level off. You never know, but I think all Dennehan needs to do is make sure he does not get in that DRS range. When he's in that DRS range, it's game over.
4/10 gained for Adam Maguire in that last lap. First sector that time round was Dennehan's best, so maybe there is some truth to that, but still ended up losing out a little in the second sector. Then again, I have noticed every time I read out the gap, it still comes down, but it comes down by slightly less and less every time. On that, yeah, see, so before I said 5/10 and 4/10, this lap that he took 3/10 off. It's always going to get a little tougher to get closer to Dennehan the closer you get, but then again, I think it's more just that Dennehan is also picking up the pace now. Dennehan only 0.2 of a second off his best lap of the race so far. 3/10 taken out in the first sector alone, though. This has been a good lap so far from Maguire. He could be in DRS zone by the... He's going to be in DRS range by the end of the lap.
Is he not already in DRS? No.
I don't think it opened there. So it won't open here either, but it's going to open down to turn 1, I think.
Yeah, he's at the 8/10 mark as of right now. Oh man. With a drive-through as well. That's some drive. Fair play. Even if somehow he doesn't get the win, that's a valiant effort.
Someone was saying in the chat earlier that they don't think there are any Australia specialists here. Well, Maguire here, he's won twice here at Australia, and he might well be heading for a third. Bit of a twitch there. Doesn't quite have the DRS, not quite. So close though. His last lap about 0.7 quicker than Jake Dennehan's. is Quint on the back of Lally. We've got to remember that with all of this going on up front, there is still a good few fights going on further back. Quint is close to Lally. We've got Jukes on the back of Stepkovsky as well. And slightly outside of the points, you've got Grankvist versus Pushkit, and a few other fights to speak of. I think Grankvist and Pushkit have just swapped places actually for P13. Grankvist, who has driven a pretty good race on the track, but unfortunately made that mistake in the pit lane and had a long stop. Now the DRS is open from Adam Maguire, so here we go. The battle has begun for the lead of this race. It's a battle that was raging earlier on, and then Maguire of course got that penalty from the pit stop after dropping behind Jake Dennehan, and he's had to bring it all the way back. 10 seconds he's gained just to be here, and he's got 5 laps now to complete that charge. I reckon he can do it, but will he?
I think it's gonna be, you know, I'm gonna hold my breath there. I'm gonna see what's about to happen into turn 3 here. He's gonna have the DRS going into this one. I think Dennehan's gonna no, he doesn't even have to defend. He wasn't quite close enough on that occasion, but I think it's gonna happen in the next lap. I'm gonna say this lap. I'm gonna go bold. I think it's gonna happen this lap into the chicane. That's gonna be my prediction.
Here we go then, it's all about the exit to this corner. Bit of grass from Dennehan, it might happen, you know. Maguire has the DRS, it will open when he crosses the white line right there. So DRS is now well and truly open on the back of the car. He's going to the outside. Adam Maguire going for the lead of the race with 5 laps to go. They touch in the chicane, they touch. Maguire's from wide, and Dennehan will maintain the lead. Maguire gets DRS once again, he's not going to give it up. Dennehan goes defensive. There is no way he was just going to let Maguire sweep past on the outside there. That is not how this race was going to end. Even if Maguire can get past Dennehan now, there is always the chance that Dennehan can stick in the DRS and strategize his way back to the lead. Here we go though. Here we go again with Dennehan. Maguire has the DRS open. There's 4 DRS zones on this track now, don't forget. If Maguire's going to win, it's this year. It's got to be this year. Ryan, here we go to turn 3 again. Sorry for interrupting you before.
No, it's okay. Sorry about that.
Oh, he's launching a dive. They're going to touch again. Oh, there's a little nudge. They've touched twice in the space of a lap. Now what happens this time into the weight chicane? We're heading to the fastest section of the track, and at the rate these two are going, we might not escape it. Luke Maguire's right there. Sorry, I completely forgot, but that is Luke Maguire full position there. He is going to be involved in this scrap before long. Goodness me, it's 3 for the lead in the late stages.
Luke Maguire could be an outside shot here. All he's got to do is sit back as we see Adam Maguire go around the outside. He gets it done. Get it done before the corner. That's exactly what he needed to do last time round.
And
then
a
he
twitch
gets a
from
little
Dennehan.
slide.
Luke Maguire still has a chance of getting past Dennehan here as well. We've got 3 laps to go after this one, but Adam Maguire leads the race now. Now what can Dennehan do? Can he stick in the slipstream? Adam is theoretically a lot faster at this point in the race and should be able to get away, but it's now Dennehan with the advantage of slipstream. Of course, it's doubly important for Dennehan to keep that slipstream, because now with Luke Maguire on his tail, they're in a DRS train.
Excessive wheeling there, I think, but
can you blame him?
Be interesting to see if Luke can get past. That would be our first brother 1-2 since the box, I believe.
Yes.
So that'd be something. But equally, you know, Dennehan's not out of it, and now he's got the DRS. He could maybe pull out something in the last couple of laps. You never know.
Here we go again. 3 laps to go. Little bit of grass kicked up by Maguire, but actually I think he still gained some time on the exit there. Luke Maguire now with a chance. Has the DRS. Dennehan also with the DRS from Adam in front. Adam's got to break his way away as fast as he can now. I don't know if he'll be thinking about helping his brother, but it'll help both of them if he pulls away now. Unless, of course, Luke still thinks he can win this race, which is actually still a possibility.
Yeah, the gap's just stretching out a little bit. Still in the DRS range, but you know, when the person behind you is closer than you are to the person in front of you, the DRS is always going to be stronger for the person at the back here.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. Weaving was okay, but I don't think Adam's got anything to worry about or anything to weave about, really. I think it's all going to go down to the battle for P2 here. I think Adam's just going to clear off into the distance with 2 laps to go.
So here we go then. Jake Dennehan, no longer the hunter, he is the hunted. Luke Maguire all over his tail. And Jake is in real danger of losing the DRS entirely. We have just this lap and then one more to go. Well, we'll see if the DRS opens here from Jake Dennehan. If it doesn't, he's in trouble. And it doesn't.
It's closed.
And Luke Maguire is on the outside, so Luke is about to do to Jake what Adam did a few laps ago, around the outside and through to second he goes. And a big twitch once again from Jake Dennehan.
And
it is
DNF.
And Panzer's out. Robin Panzer, who I thought was challenging for a podium for a large portion of this race, has DNF'd somewhere. And that's pretty gutting, actually. I was really rooting for him.
2 laps to go as well.
Indeed, I think we're going to see a replay of what happened. Well, if we can find it. But yes, Robin Panzer, unfortunately, will not be scoring any points here today, as the YouTube chat reacts to that move from the leader. And here is what happened to Robin Panzer. Is it an accident or a disconnection? It'll be one of the two. I saw the order changing, and there he goes. So it's a pure disconnection, and a very sudden one at that.
That's such a shame. He was having such a good run. That was going to be a really good, solid set of points for Adonis as well, which they need, you know, down in 7th in the championship. That would have put them quite high up there, but
still 5th with Jolt Fuchs. But yeah, that would have been a real bundle of points coming their way.
I mean, if you just look at the team's championship, most of those teams have got points coming from one driver. It seems to only be RSR and Super Venturi that have got their points from across 2. You know, Edge with 55 points, 46 of them coming from Jake. It proves how important it is to have 2 drivers up there. They would be flying in the championship if they had 2 on similar points.
Yep, and you'll be pleased to hear, Ryan, that both of your guys are still running in the points. Now here comes Adam Maguire out of the final corner, and what a drive. A drive through, couldn't hold him off. There's the checkered flag, and Adam Maguire takes the victory. It's a Maguire 1-2, it's like Ralph and Michael. Across the line they go. Jake Dennehan is 3rd. Tom Stevens and Jolt Fuchs are they're going to be 4th and 5th. Fuchs just about fending off Daniel Stepkowski. Here's Vok and Quint who are fighting to the end as well. Both RSRs in the top 10 once again, Ryan. Well done to you. Jakub Lalu is P9, and then it's going to be David Fidok. There you see some of the positions that drivers have gained. You see, as Chris Shepherd has retired in the late stages, good shout there at Szymon, that's unfortunate. Possibly running out of fuel or something this if it's a retirement this late on. Mike Quint P8, Jakub Lalu P9, then David Fidok, Dylan Platt, Philip Pushke. So that's Dylan Platt's personal best result in Super League. And there is what happened to Shepherd. So it's been an accident, and there's a car ahead that's involved, and that's Shirtzik. So Shirtzik, who might still score points, I think, has come together with Chris Shepherd on the last lap, and there is the tangle, and around they go. Both of them taking very heavy damage off the barriers there, and I'm sure that the stewards will be taking a bit of a look at that in due time. So I think that everyone who needs to has now crossed the finish line. There are the THRs running side by side with their sister car, the Nocturne, celebrating Adam Maguire's victory, his 3rd victory at the Australian Grand Prix. This is absolutely his circuit. Even though, and he's gonna run into the back of the edge there, very nearly. Even though the circuit has changed slightly from when he first won here, he's still just as competitive. Maguire wins, followed by Maguire, Jake Dennehan, then Stevens, Fuchs, Stepkowski, Wok, Quint, Lalu, and Fidok, and some very unusual donuts going on down there in the weight chicane. High-speed donuts there. And then the rest of the points finishes we're going to see any second now. Dylan Platt was P11. running with fight up to the end. They were separated by less than 0.3 of a second as they crossed the line. No surprise there. Philip Pushke P12, then Jan Grankvist, Jeffrey Fournier, and Fabian Schiertzig. So Schiertzig DNF, but still will score a point because he'll be classified in the results. Shepard will also be classified, so if there is any penalties or anything, he could still score a point himself. Florian Gaia, P17, then Joseph Herlock, Robin Pansar, and Pascal Pollens, with the latter two having been late DNFs. And there's a whole page of DNFs, unfortunately. Stefan Rohr and Matthias Moos got together in that accident earlier on, when Pescara had a dog of a day.
Yeah, I just still cannot compute how Maguire's done that, even with that penalty. You know, he's doing some donuts, which is very well deserved. Just doesn't get much better than that for him, really. I knew he had the pace, but I just didn't think he had that in him. And if I was Denahan, I would be confused and probably a little bit frustrated and upset with that one.
Yeah.
It was his to lose, and we are starting to see drops of rain.
Is it really?
Everybody comes into the pit.
Oh, it's just like in FS2. We had,
Oh,
yeah, look,
typical.
there's spots on the, we had that in FS2 as well. I was so excited for the rain, and then it came on the last lap of the last race. I was gutted, but anyway. So, what a race that was, and congratulations to Adam Maguire from 15th and dead in the water on the start-finish straight last time out to the victory today. We're actually going to bring in Adam Maguire to the commentary box now and congratulate him on his third Australian Grand Prix victory. Adam Maguire, are you there?
Hello, hi.
Congratulations, that was a fantastic result, and what a win there. You must be thrilled.
Yeah, well, I didn't expect to get the win after having that stupid mistake in the pit lane. So, yeah, it came up on my screen, and then suddenly I was like, I'm gonna just push and possibly ruin the tires. But I really wanted to catch Jake, and I don't know how. Maybe his tires went off, but yeah, I'm fairly buzzing that I got the win.
It was worth it though. You reeled in such a gap there. You were 5/10, 6/10, 7/10 faster than Jake every single lap. You must have been driving the race for your life. How did it feel out there? What was the car like?
Oh, the car was great. Yeah, the setup was brilliant. So I just want to say thanks to Tom Ely for helping out with the setup. But yeah, every lap was basically like a quali lap, just on the limit and pulling Luke along with me, and glad that he got P2 as well. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Pretty good indeed. So yeah, that's the first time you and Luke have been first and second on a podium actually. Is that the same for all sim racing or just GPWC? Have you done it before?
I actually don't know. I think we race together in 2021, but I don't think we shared a podium once, like ever, in sim racing. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, I was saying it's like Michael and Ralph Schumacher, isn't it? Or Yannick and Leon Bock.
I'll be the better Schumacher if it's okay. He might come in and say he is, but you know, that's the twin rivalry.
He's got to prove that in G time. Well, what a victory there today. And it's quite something as well that THR and Nocturne have swept pretty much every session, with the exception, of course, of Jake's victory in Bahrain last time out. But THR and Nocturne have been quite a couple of forces to be reckoned with in this championship so far. And you mentioned Tom Ely there helping you with the setup, but yeah, you've got quite an organisation behind you, don't you?
Yeah, no, it's probably been the best I've had since starting Super League. So it's a great group of guys, and yeah, we're always motivated to get on, do some laps, and yeah, the setup is working pretty nice right now. The cars might run out of money at the end of the season, so I think we're just gonna take in the glory days at the moment, and second half of the season might be a bit more tough, but yeah, see how it goes. I'm happy with the team though, very happy.
Indeed, that's all I've got for you. But Ryan, you were watching that race as well, and you were enthusing over Adam's performance. Do you have anything to say to him?
I don't have any questions, but all I have to say is fair play. I can't believe you managed that with the Was it actually? I do have a question. Was it just didn't have the pit limiter on, or was it just an overspeed on the entry?
I actually got down to the pit speed, and I'm pretty sure I accidentally clicked the button twice. So
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
when I
that is
yeah
what we thought on stream, but I just
yeah
wanted to double check.
that's that's just not practicing the pit lane entry enough.
Well, you did a better job than was it Lalu who lost his rear wing going into the pits?
Quest.
It was Granquist, so you did a better job than Jan.
Thank God.
Anyway, well done. Congrats, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Baku.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, guys.
Indeed. Let's move on to our second place finisher, who, of course, is Adam's identical twin, Luke. Luke, hello, how are you?
How are you, Caitlin?
Very, very good. We've just been talking to your brother Adam there about his victory, but Luke, you had quite a race as well. You were kind of flying under the radar until the end there, where you picked up the pace, followed Adam to the lead, and then flew past Jake Dennehan. What a race that was! Did you expect to be second today?
No, not really. Our car today was quite well, kind of middle of the pack in development, and yeah, I just wanted to get some good points on the board from the two previous rounds where I had a DNF and a 13th. So yeah, it was great to get second today, and yeah, even better to share the podium with Adam.
Indeed. Now, I haven't mentioned this yet, but that's actually your first GPWC Super League podium. How does that feel to have been trying for so long and to have had, I mean, a fair deal of bad luck, I'm going to be honest,
Yeah.
and then to have brought it home in second place at last?
Yeah, just this year we have the setup right, we have the team right. We have a great setup with Tom Eady helping us, and all of us are putting in lots of laps and lots of strategies, and it's down to the team, not the individual really this year, because I don't feel like I'm driving any different, but the team around me is just improving, and it's great to get that first podium.
Absolutely. How does it feel to be 1-2 with your brother as well? Is there a sense of frustration that it's not the other way around, or are you just happy that you're 1-2?
You know what? As close as me and Adam are, it's great to see him win. It's almost the same feeling. I'm happy with him winning. I'm happy coming second to him.
Fair enough. That is very different to how I would have answered that question if it was me and my brother. But anyway,
Took the words out of my mouth. I would say the complete opposite. But fair enough.
That's the twin love, I guess.
You got much more respect than I do.
Yeah.
So,
Well, he actually saved my race, because I was struggling. But once I got into his DRS after he had that drive-through, it pulled me along. If you liked it or not, it pulled me along.
And when he battled with Dennehan.
Yeah, that was great.
Closed that gap as well. So
yeah, exactly.
Owe him a pint or two, that's for sure.
Or one. Thank you.
the DRS is pretty powerful today. How was that?
It was like if you were half a second slower than the car in front, if you were able to just be in their DRS for one lap, like you saw, I lost on lap on Adam, and he got like a second away from me within a couple of laps. So the DRS was really powerful, and if you lost it, you were in no man's land.
Indeed, indeed. Well, congratulations on your first GPWC Super League podium, and I'm sure it'll be the first of many at this rate. Well done.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Now, Ryan, there are 5 people in the interview room right now, and all of them are from the THR and Nocturne camp, so I'm going to let you take your pick, but we're going to be speaking to someone from THR/Nocturne, whatever.
Yeah, it would be nice if some of the drivers/teams joined us.
Yeah, where's Jake Dennehan? Come on, Jake.
It does feel like every week it is THR and Nocturne in this comms box at the end of the race.
I'm going to tag Jake.
At least some combination of it. But I've just seen a message that David Fydock is going to join us. So I think we'll grab him when he jumps into the waiting for interview room. I haven't spoken to David in a while, so I'm quite interested to speak to him. I'm curious to why, because I don't know why he decided to make a comeback after taking I don't know if I call it a sabbatical. It was going to be a retirement, wasn't it?
Yeah, half-year sabbatical.
Yeah, and see his thoughts on toying around with Dylan Platt as well.
Okay, well, while we're waiting for that, let's talk to the winning team manager here today, Toby Davis. Toby, are you there?
Hello, yes, absolutely, I'm here.
Very, very good. So your team this so far this year, both THR and Nocturne, who we know are very closely related, are having quite a start to the year. I mean, that's a victory for Adam Maguire now. You had Luke up there as well. Tom did a great job. What a day, eh?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I should say obviously Chris Butcher is the THR manager. I'm the Nocturne manager specifically.
Yeah, of course.
But yes, you're absolutely right. There, me and Chris are joint owners of the group. So, but yes, nevertheless, it's no secret we work together, and everyone has put in so much effort behind the scenes. We have Tom Ely, myself, and Chris calling the strat, and Tom obviously works on all the setup work for us with the chaps. Adam and Luke both drove exceptionally good races today, despite Adam getting a drive-through for pit lane speeding. It was so good to watch, and I'm absolutely over the moon, especially to get Nocturne's first win in the Super League now, considering we're such a new team. We're only 2 years old since we took over that license, and it's been a great progression, and I'm absolutely buzzing for everyone. And to have Tom in fourth for THR, and obviously Mike on his debut, soundly within the top 10 as well, doing a fantastic job in the other Nocturne car. Everyone's putting the effort, and it's really really coming through, and I'm so grateful for everyone for that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Quite a day of racing, and I mean, your organization never ceases to amaze me. The organization that you have within the team, and the just the dynamic that you have, it's extremely professional, and it's clearly working too.
Thanks, Caitlin. We work hard to have fun. That's how we do it, So we put the hard work in, put the hours in, and then this is what we get as a result, and that's the fun bit. And I used to do obviously quite a bit of sim racing myself. I'm nowhere near quick enough anymore, and I have just as much joy out of watching my team do well. So I've kind of lost my voice. I was shouting quite a bit at the end, as I'm sure you can imagine. But Adam drove really well, and I'm so grateful for their hard work and so on. It's really coming together. We're going to have to capitalize while we can. We're definitely going to be financially struggling later in the season. But for now, we're going to enjoy it while it lasts.
Indeed. Congratulations, Toby, and we will see you and your team in the future.
Thanks, Caitlin. Really appreciate it.
Indeed. We're going to I think we'll have time for one more interview. We'll finish off by interviewing literally the only person here who was involved in that race but wasn't part of THR/Nocturne. David Fidock. Hello, David. How are you?
Good evening. Hello.
Very, very good. Now, David, you finished in the top 10, P10 in the end. We noticed you were on an alternate strategy, but seems to have worked out quite well there. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, really happy with that one. I was in a poor spot for quali, so the alternate was the only option, to be honest. Anyway, yeah, the start was pretty decent, kept out of trouble. I think at the end of each stint, the first and second stint, I went one lap too long. And the guys that pitted before had the fresh tyres for the extra lap, so it pulled me away from the P8, P9 battle. But for the second to last slowest car, I think we did all right.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, P10, it's your third points finish of the year so far in 3 races, of course. So clearly you've got consistency on your side. How are you feeling about, I mean, we've got a bunch of street circuits coming up next. We've got Azerbaijan, followed by Saudi, and then we've got a few more later on in the year too. How are you feeling about the next couple of races?
If that's the case, we're in trouble because we haven't got drag, I don't think. So, no, I'm looking forward to it. The first 3 races are always a bit, trying to find your place on the grid, working out the pecking order, working out where people go with setups like MLR we went max swing. People around us were a lot lower, so it's impossible to pass on the straights. So the second race we went opposite, and the other guys went up on the wing. And then this race, I think I was one of the lowest because Dylan behind me had DRS and pushed past, and he couldn't get by. But yeah, great race with Dylan, by the way. We, rather than fight each other, he was fast at the beginning of the stint and he pulled me along. And then when his tyres dropped, he let me by and I pulled him along. So it worked out quite well. But yeah, I don't know. We got a little bit more to go in the setup, but I think the next few races we can challenge a bit more in the top 10.
Fair enough. Yeah, you and Dylan were separated by pretty much nothing the entire race there. Finished about 0.3 of a second apart. Yeah, good race from you there, David. And I'm glad to hear that you're optimistic about the next few races.
I always am. I'm not one for the look down. Got to look at the positives. Yeah, the only scary moment was in the DRS a couple of times. I'm pretty sure others had their moment, but I let one of the leaders pass after they pit and went past me, and I opened DRS behind him. I think it was Robin as I was turning towards sector 2 and the card. Yeah, I had a lot of grey hair at that moment, but
Yeah.
Hopefully the next DRS is just in a straight line so I can focus on the straight.
Fair enough. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, thank you for joining us, David, and good luck in the future.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Have a good night. People have just been pointing out in the chat actually that the entire podium to that race was Irish because we had the two Maguires first and second, and then Dennehan third. That is quite a stat. And I tell you what, I bet that's never happened before. So we're making history here today with GPVWC. Anyway, those were the interviews. Thank you to everyone that we spoke to there, especially David, because otherwise we'd have only spoken to THR/Nocturne folks, and that would not have been ideal. But anyway, yes, thank you as always to Szymon Frelik for broadcasting, for bringing you the cameras and the stream that you're watching, and of course to Ryan Elliott for joining me. If you're waiting for some more GPWC action, we are live next week on Tuesday and Thursday for the FS2 and FS1 championships, and then of course we'll be live in 2 weeks' time for Super League at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, the Baku circuit, of course, which replaces Jeddah that we were supposed to be going to next. And then, of course, we'll be back at Jeddah in a few weeks after that, but I'm looking way too far into the future at that point. In the meantime, thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time out. Goodbye.